Today, I'm behind the wheel of one of the most eagerly anticipated cars of 2019. Even though it isn't very fast, hasn't got great performance, it isn't expensive, it isn't loud, and truth be told, it is a bit of an oddball. I'm driving the all-new Suzuki Jimny. Now, before I do anything else, if you enjoy watching our videos, make sure you subscribe, make sure you click the little bell icon so you get notifications when we upload a new video, and make sure you like this video, make sure you comment on it, make sure you share it with others, and make sure you visit newmotoring.com. Yes, today I'm behind the wheel of the all-new Suzuki Jimny, and that makes me so happy, weirdly happy. I don't quite know why I am this happy about the new Jimny. The Jimny, as I said, it is a bit of an oddball. The first generation of Jimny that came to the UK was the third gen Jimny, and that came in 1998. And in the 20 years since then, Suzuki has sold more than 42,000 in the UK. That is a very big number for what is a very small off-roader, but there is a real die-hard fan base of people who love this car. The danger was that by redesigning the Jimny, something that has proved so popular, is that Suzuki could ruin it. They could lose that fan base. They could basically really irritate them by getting rid of their hero. But I think one fact that really speaks to the fact that they haven't ruined it is the fact that in the UK, in the first 6 months of 2019, there will be 600 Jimnys. And guess how many people have registered their interest? 10,000 people. 10,000. It's physically impossible for Suzuki to build enough of these cars to meet demand. That sounds like a success. And actually, because the car has proved so popular, before it's even gone on sale, before journalists have even driven it, before it's been anywhere, Suzuki has decided that they won't do a TV ad for it because they just don't need to. How often does that happen? Has that ever happened? The good news is that if you aren't one of those 600 people who'll get one very early on, Suzuki has said that the Jimny once again will not follow the usual rules of a car life cycle. It won't be built for 5, 6 or 7 years before being replaced. Whether or not it will be around for 20 years, like the last Jimny, we don't know, but it will be around for quite a long time yet. It looks absolutely brilliant. I really like it, and it definitely looks a lot smaller in real life than it does in the photographs. In photos it reminds me of a G-Wagon, but in person, well, it's like a G-Wagon that's been shrunk in the wash. And compared to the old Jimny, it's 30mm shorter, but 20mm taller and 45mm wider, so you've got more space, but it's still physically quite small. It's easy to use in a city or a town. Again, it's weird because you look at it and you think, that's a huge off-roader, but it really isn't. It's tiny. And Suzuki has done things like put the rear lights down on the bumper rather than on the sides of the car, on the rear pillars. And what that means is that you don't have things getting in the way of the door. So the door can be wider, so you've got a bigger boot opening. Little things like that are actually just quite clever. Now underneath, the chassis is very similar to that of the old Jimny. It's a ladder chassis, so it's quite basic, it's quite old-fashioned really. But they've kept that because that chassis is very good at going off-road. The biggest difference they've made is that there are now more bars in the chassis. There are more beams in the chassis, so it should be more resistant to twisting. So if you do take it off-road, it's less likely to bend and buckle and break. And Suzuki has also said that the ground clearance is better, and the angles that it can achieve when you're going off-road are better too. Basically, it's just more capable in every way. Inside, Suzuki wanted everything, and I quote here when I say this, scratch and stain resistant. Stain resistant. That's certainly a phrase you don't hear very often on a car launch. And they also wanted all of the buttons to be big enough that you could use them whilst wearing gloves. And that's certainly the case. Everything in here feels very big, very chunky, very robust, like it shouldn't just break or fall off. And if you do go off-roading, you've got a great big bar in front of the passenger so that they can hold onto something rather than flopping about on the passenger side. And Suzuki has listened to their customers as well. On the old Jimny, there was a little switch that would swap the car from being in two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive to four-wheel drive low ratio. It would change how the four-wheel drive system was working. But instead now, they've got a lever because customers said that they wanted to feel like they were doing something physical. Well, I mean, certainly the case. It feels like I'm changing a signal at a railway station. It also has technology and safety kit that the old Jimny just couldn't deal with. Like now you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you couldn't have Apple CarPlay in the last Jimny because the last Jimny was launched 9 years before the iPhone was even invented. And you've got climate control, you've got cruise control, you've got navigation, you've got heated seats, you've got LED lights, you've got automatic braking. All these little things that make the new Jimny a thoroughly modern car in comparison to the old Jimny, which was 2 decades old. Anyway, what's it like to drive? Well, there's only one engine in the new Jimny. It's a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated petrol engine. So it's a bigger engine than the old 1.3 litre naturally aspirated engine you got in the old Jimny, but it's also a lighter engine and it's more powerful, which is good. However, it does still only have 100 brake horsepower and 95 pounds-feet of torque. That's not a lot. There isn't a 0 to 62 mile an hour time because Suzuki just hasn't done one. But the top speed is 90 miles an hour and it'll get around 35 miles to the gallon. Not massively impressive figures, I'll admit, but it's just got a bit of character. It's not an especially quick engine, and I think it would be better in a way if it was turbocharged because you just have more power. You've got to work it quite hard. Allow me to demonstrate. Second gear, 30 miles an hour, just above 3,000 RPM. That's 55. There's 60. We're going up a slight hill, so perhaps that was unfair. But quick, it is not. You need to work the engine quite hard if you actually want to make progress. It starts to really wake up above 4,000 RPM, but there isn't much space after that where it really wants to keep you going. Now, Suzuki has tried to make this as comfortable a road car as they possibly could, certainly more comfortable than the old Jimny. And perhaps it has worked, but if I'm honest, it still is a little bit bouncy. It's not uncomfortable, I don't feel like I'm being beaten up, but you can just feel it moving. It's quite busy all of the time. It's an off-roader at heart, and that, to a certain extent, will compromise things when you're just driving normally on a road. So here we are now on a twisty little bit of road, and as a testament to how fun this car can be, this is a very, very bumpy road, and as you can hear, I'm in second gear. You should not be able to drive this quickly down this road, but you can, because it soaks up bumps like nothing else. It is definitely bouncy, but it's so much fun. Oh, I probably shouldn't be doing that. It's good fun. As I said, there's a little lever down here that means you can choose between two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and a low-range four-wheel drive, and that works rather well. It certainly feels very physical when you move it from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive and low range. And speaking of low range, we have been off-roading, and my word, this little thing just keeps going. It's a very serious off-roader. Don't be fooled by the fact it looks small and kind of cute and a bit off-roady. It is absolutely a very serious off-roader. We were going through bumps and dips and up muddy, slippery surfaces that I just didn't think were possible, to be honest, but it just keeps on going. And it's got a system as well that when you're in first gear and you're in four-wheel drive low range, the engine won't stall. You can just keep going without your foot on the accelerator, the clutch or brake or anything, and it will just keep you going. The engine will not stall. It will pull you up hills, it will take you down hills in a controlled manner because you've got hill descent control. It just keeps on going. It's a very tough little machine. The only trouble is, as I said, it's a little bit bouncy on road and off road as well, particularly in the back. I mean, I was getting thrown around like a rag doll. It's very bouncy, but it is what it is. It's built for going off road and it does that very, very well. As for the steering, well, actually, the car as a whole feels quite light, quite nimble. It weighs 1,135 kilos, and it feels quite nimble, I think, because the wheelbase is very short, but the steering itself is quite vague. You don't really know what's going to happen, and when you turn in for a quick corner, let's say, you turn and then wait for it to react, and then you've probably put too much lock on, so you take a bit off, and then you've got to wait for that to actually happen. It's not the best steering. Again, it's made for going off-road, and off-road you don't really need razor-sharp steering. Not that I was expecting that, but yeah, it's quite vague. It's comical. It's a bit like driving Postman Pat's delivery van. And as for the gearbox, Do you know what? I think the gearbox is probably one of the best things about it. It's got quite a long throw to it, but it feels very mechanical and quite physical, quite precise. I really didn't expect that. And if you don't want the manual gearbox, which is a 5-speed manual, you can also have a 4-speed automatic. 4 speeds. I haven't tried that, but to be honest, I don't really want to. Now there are 2 trim levels, there's SZ4 and SZ5. SZ4 costs £15,499 and SZ5 costs £17,999. And if you want the automatic, that will cost an extra £1,500, and that's only available on the SZ5. And guess what? I really like it. I know as a road car, it is absolutely flawed in many ways. Like, the steering is just so vague, as I said. The engine, you need to rev it to get anywhere at all, but I just don't care. It oozes character. What do you think of the new Jimny? Do you think it's a worthy, rightful successor to the old Jimny? And are you one of those people who signed up, who said, yes, Suzuki, take my money, I want one? Let me know in the comments below.